When you think about the Maya, what's the first thing that pops into your head? For a lot of us, right, it's that classic image, these incredible stone cities just completely swallowed up by the jungle. It's the story of a powerful civilization that, poof, just vanished. But is that really the whole story? Well, today we're going to dig into that exact mystery.
So, let's start our journey where the usual story kind of ends. Right here, among these unbelievable ruins. We're talking about silent cities that look like they were just abandoned, seemingly at the absolute peak of their power.
Okay, so take a look at a city like Tikal, which is in modern-day Guatemala. This place wasn't just a few temples here and there. No, this was a massive, sprawling metropolis. You can almost just close your eyes and imagine the plazas just packed with people, right? You can hear the sounds of a busy city echoing, where today it's just the sounds of the jungle. The scale of it, the incredibly smart design, it's just staggering to think about.
And all of this, it brings us right to the big question, the one that's had historians and archaeologists scratching their heads for centuries. How could a civilization this advanced, one that built places like Tikal, just vanish off the map?
All right, so to really get a handle on the collapse, we've got to understand the peak first. I mean, it makes sense, right? So let's rewind a bit, move away from the ruins for a second, and talk about the people who actually built them during what's called their golden age, or the classic period.
And the first thing you really need to wrap your head around is the sheer amount of time we're talking about. The Maya weren't just some brief flash in the pan. No way. Their civilization stretches from around 2000 BC all the way to the 1600s. So that famous collapse everyone talks about, the one around 900 AD, that's really just one chapter in a very, very long book.
And their genius, wow. It was expressed in so many different ways. I mean, on the one hand, you've got this absolutely awe-inspiring architecture, right? The iconic stepped pyramids that everyone knows. But then on the other hand, you have this incredibly detailed and colorful art, like these murals from the place called Bonaparte. They basically give us this vibrant window into what their courtly life was actually like.
But their accomplishments went way beyond just building and painting. These were brilliant, brilliant people. We're talking about pioneers in mathematics. They even developed the concept of zero. And they were incredible astronomers, meticulously tracking the stars to create these super accurate calendars. And maybe nothing shows off their brain power better than their writing system. Get this, it was the only fully developed script in all of the pre-Columbian Americas. It's this complex system that combines symbols for whole words with symbols for sounds or syllables. And because of this, they could record their history, their science, their myths, all in their own words.
And through that writing and their art, we start to see a real living society. This isn't some abstract civilization we're talking about. These were actual people. This carving here, it's from around 785 AD, and it shows a ruler being presented with captives. It's a pretty raw look at power, at politics, and just the reality of what life was like in a Maya kingdom back then.
Okay, so we've got this picture now, right? A powerful, super smart, long-lasting civilization. Which, of course, brings us right back to that central mystery. What on earth went wrong? How did it all just collapse?
So this event we call the collapse. It's really better to think of it as a great abandonment. Because over a couple hundred years, the huge cities in the southern Maya lowlands, we're talking places like Tikal again, their populations just plummeted. And all that massive construction, it just ground to a halt.
So, what was the cause? Well, there is no single, easy answer, that's for sure. For years, scholars have debated a whole list of potential reasons. You've got everything from internal problems, like maybe overpopulation or peasant revolts, to external shocks, like a foreign invasion or key trade routes falling apart.
But lately, a really powerful theory has come to the forefront, and it's backed by some serious climate data. Evidence from lake beds and even cave formations suggests the whole region was hit by a long, intense drought, a mega drought. And like this quote from the journal Science points out, it didn't have to be a total world-ending catastrophe. For a society that completely depends on rain for their crops, even just a 25 to 40% drop in rainfall year after year, well, that could have been the tipping point that made the whole system unravel.
So there we have it. A massive drought comes along, brings a great civilization to its knees. Case closed, right? Well, not so fast. This is where the story gets really interesting.
And this, right here, is where that popular story we all know gets it totally wrong. See, we've been focusing on the collapse of the cities in the south, but does that mean the Maya people themselves just vanished? The answer to that is a huge, emphatic no.
Just look at this. This is the city of Uxmal up in the northern Yucatán Peninsula, and what's so incredible about it is that Uxmal and other cities in the north, they didn't just survive the southern collapse, they actually thrived. In fact, many of them hit their absolute peak after those southern cities were already declining.
You see, this changes the entire picture. The story of the Maya isn't really about a mysterious disappearance at all. It's a story of crisis, yes, but it's also a story of incredible resilience and adaptation. As the South went into decline, people and power just shifted north. The civilization didn't die out, it moved.
And that resilience is just mind-blowing. Think about it. Centuries later, when the Spanish conquistadors show up, they weren't finding a few scattered survivors of some lost civilization. Nope. They found dozens of independent, powerful, and incredibly fierce Maya kingdoms. It took the Spanish almost 170 years to finally get control of the region.
Let that date sink in for a second. 1697. That is almost 800 years after the Great Collapse in the South began. The Maya were still fighting for and holding on to their independence deep into the colonial era. They definitely didn't just vanish into the jungle.
And the story doesn't even end there. This legacy is alive and well. I mean, this isn't just ancient history we're talking about. Today, there are millions of people across Mexico, Guatemala, Belize, and Honduras who are direct descendants of this amazing civilization, and many of them still speak Mayan languages.
So, the next time you see one of those incredible pictures of a jungle temple, remember this. The Maya never disappeared. Not at all. They faced a crisis, they adapted, they endured, and their culture and their people are still very much here with us today. What we've been calling a collapse was really a transformation.